A very good evening and welcome to World Now at 4. I am Peace Ogenegbawe. Welcome. On the headlines, NMA raises alarm over epidemics outbreak. ZANU-PF endorses Mnangagwa as candidate. Malaysia COVID first positive candidates can vote, says minister. And on sports, Kroos sent off in Madrid stalemate. Now the news in detail. The Nigerian Medical Association National Committee on Epidemics and Pandemics Awareness has called on government at all levels to put measures in place to prevent the impending outbreak of epidemics in the aftermath of the devastating flooding across the nation. In a statement made available to journalists on Monday by the chairman, Abubakar Azan, and the secretary, Enejo Joseph, in Lokoja, the NMA National Committee on Epidemics and Pandemics Awareness called on government to provide potable water to the affected communities as the bodies of water in these areas were heavily polluted and unfit for consumption. According to the statements, the provision of water purifiers as announced by the federal government of Nigeria is a step in the right direction and should be extended to all affected communities. Another measure that should be taken according to the NMA is the provision of habitable settlements with insecticide-treated bed nets. The people of Idumugbe village in Asaba, Delta State has expressed shock as the demolition of some buildings on a piece of land in Okwolo by the state government. Spokesman and Onudiopa of Idumugbe village, Eugene Umunna, said the action of the government is unjustifiable.
I personally went and served the Ministry of Justice, the Attorney General. I gave him the writ of possession, the warrant of possession. I gave him the injunction. I gave him the Gazette plan and all that they needed. I even proceeded again and did the same to the office of the governor. An injunction gotten in the competent court of jurisdiction. They could not respect it.
George Akan, a victim of the demolition in Asaba, also lamented the demolition of the buildings.
In fact, as I'm talking to you now, I don't even know where to start from because they pulled down. I don't even know that government can do something like this.
In a swift reaction, the government, through the Commissioner of Information, Charles Anyagu, says it is only preserving the piece of land it has acquired, which was earlier encroached upon by some individuals.
Previous administration acquired a number of lands for the purpose of expansion of government activities. In the course of time, we saw the need to deacquire this land. What that meant is that we needed to return some of the land back to the communities for the purpose of them having also to join us as partners in development. So parts of this land was deacquired and handed over to the community. Now, some of the land that were not in that category was left to enable government also carry out future development. They decide to jump in. Perhaps they believe government have forgotten the land and started looking for one way or the other to develop. And government said, no, this is not part of what we deacquired.
Away from that story, many passengers were reportedly burned to death in a fatal accident in Enugu State. The auto crash happened on Sunday night along Enugu-Port Harcourt Road near the University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital, Ituku Ozala. The Federal Road Safety Corps, that's the FRSC, has confirmed the accident, describing it as unfortunate. Although FRSC could not provide the casualty figure, reports claim that 13 passengers were burnt beyond recognition. While confirming the incident, Enugu State Sector Commander, FRSC, Joseph Toby, told correspondents that the operation was still ongoing at the scene of the accident. According to him, any figure out there is false and speculative. Let's move now to stories from other parts of Africa, but that will be after this break. Welcome back. In other parts of Africa, we begin with Somalia, where the president has issued an urgent plea for international help for wounded victims of devastating car bombings as the weekend that claimed the lives of 100 people. The government put out an appeal for blood donations, with dozens of people gathered outside hospitals in the capital, Mogadishu, seeking news of family members. The White House on Sunday also condemned the tragic terrorist attack in Mogadishu, and in particularly its heinous targeting of Somali Ministry of Education and first responders. The Mogadishu on Saturday, 2 cars parked with explosives blew up minutes apart near the busy Zobe intersection, followed by gunfire in an attack targeting Somalia's Education Ministry. Bulldozers were continuing to clear the blast site in the capital, Mogadishu, on Monday in the hunt for bodies feared trapped under the rubble. Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for the attack, saying the fighters were targeting the Ministry of Education. And now let's get to Zimbabwe, where its ruling party, ZANU-PF, has endorsed President Emmerson Mnangagwa as sole party candidate ahead of next year's polls. While speaking on Saturday at the party's Congress in Harare, President Mnangagwa called for unity in the party. The president, during his speech, emphasized on mobilizing and encouraging people to register to vote and turn up in numbers to vote for ZANU-PF on Election Day. 80-year-old Emmerson Mnangagwa came to power in 2017 after toppling longtime ruler Robert Mugabe in a coup backed by the army. In 2018, he won disputed elections, which his main rival, Nelson Chamisa, then leader of Movement for Democratic Change, insists were rigged. There are stories from Brazil and Malaysia, but these stories will come after this timeout. Just stay with us. Welcome back. Brazil is taking a turn to the left as former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva beat far-right incumbent Jair Bolsonaro to the presidential election. After a divisive campaign, which saw two bitter rivals on opposite sides of the political spectrum go head-to-head, Lula won 50.9% of the votes. It was enough to beat Jair Bolsonaro, whose supporters had been confident of victory. It was a stunning comeback for a politician who could not run in the last presidential election in 2018 because he was in jail and banned from standing for office. He had been found guilty of receiving a bribe from a Brazilian construction firm in the return for contracts with Brazil's state oil company. Lula spent 580 days in jail before his conviction was annulled and he returned to the political fray. And now to Malaysia, where the Health Minister, Khairy Jamaluddin, said on Monday that candidates for Malaysia's general election who have tested positive for COVID-19 must place themselves under quarantine. But they will be allowed to vote, with the rules on voting by COVID-positive voters set to be announced by the Election Commission, which is the EC. The EC will announce the rules for those who are positive, and this is for voting because that is their constitutional right, according to him at a press conference. Kerry added that political parties and candidates should set a good example by using face masks when in confined spaces, especially when there are senior citizens present or when canvassing for votes door to door. The United States is planning to deploy its nuclear-capable B-52 bombers to northern Australia amid tension with China, and this is according to local media reports on Monday. The ability to deploy U.S. Air Force bombers to Australia sends a strong message to adversaries about their ability to project lethal air power. The broadcaster quoted the U.S. Air Force as saying this. Security experts believe that the move is a warning to China if it attempts an assault on Taiwan. Australia Prime Minister Anthony Albanese on Monday also did not deny the report but refused to share any details with the media. Let's now get to business news after this timeout. Just stay with us. Welcome back. The federal government has inaugurated the Digital Economy Industry Working Group, which is the DEIWG, to serve as an action group and public-private dialogue platform to be formed by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, NESG, and the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, inaugurated the group on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria during the closing ceremony of Digital Nigeria International Conference held in Abuja. According to him, the group will be saddled with the responding out government initiatives and policies that are affecting the private sector pertaining to the digital economy. He also maintained that the group will harmonize and harness the work done by both the federal Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy and the NESG to unlock the potentials of the fully digital economy and deliver benefits to the public, private, and social enterprise in the growth of the digital industry in Nigeria. In another development, Senate Public Accounts Committee has started investigating the 2.2 billion naira unaccounted expenditure allegedly collected by the Federal Ministry of Justice between 2017 and 2021 from the service-wide votes. The committee is currently going through the records of over 200 federal agencies that benefited from over 5 trillion naira that accrued to the service-wide votes between the period. It was also not made available to the Senate Standing Committee mandated to oversight the agency. Members of the panel at its last sitting on Friday expressed surprise to see a line item in the money collected from the service-wide vote in 2019 for capital projects, simply put, as critical needs. Accountant General of the Federation had this in its authority of expenditure, and it was further discovered that 955 million naira, as shown in the AIE, was released to the ministry from SWV in 2017, but the record made available by the ministry showed 549 million naira. News reaching us from Denmark shows that the Energy Agency on Monday recommended to the country's transmission system operator that the level of preparedness for the power and gas sector be lowered to yellow from orange, though it would still remain elevated. The preparedness level was raised to orange, the next highest level shortly after leaks in the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines occurred last month. We now join Richard Badung on Sports News. To stay with us.
Good evening and welcome to Sport News on World Now at 4. I am Richard Badung. On the news, Fidelis Ilechukwu, Plateau United coach, has said his team is working hard to ensure that they get to the group stage of the CAF Confederations Cup. Ilechukwu lamented about Plateau United's exit from the CAF Champions League in the hands of four-time winners, Esperance of Tunisia, in a controversial circumstances, explained that his team have put the sad incident behind them and as they look forward to a good outing against Al Akhdar of Libya in the CAF Confederations Cup playoffs coming up at the MKO Abiola Stadium in Abuja on Wednesday. The former Atalanta head coach, who underscores the importance of scoring many goals at home, stated that the technical crew is working hard in every department of the team to get to the much-needed goals they deserve, something they failed to do against Esperance, which largely accounted for their exit in the CAF Champions League. To make the return leg in Tripoli a mere formality, he commended Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State for his unflinching support to the as well as management under the leadership of Pius Henwan and technical director Coach Ahmed Ibrahim for prioritizing the welfare of the team. For the meantime, Plateau United's opponents in Wednesday's CAF Confederations Cup playoffs, Al Akhdar of Libya, have landed in Abuja ahead of. And away from that, Dutch midfielder Toni Kroos, for the first time in his career, was sent off as unbeaten Real Madrid, went top of La Liga thanks to the yellow card in injury time. A draw was a fair result and takes Real Madrid 1 point. Injury time for Real's first La Liga red card since 10 April 2021 against Barcelona. And away from that story to England, where North London side Arsenal has regained their spot at the top of the Premier League table after defeating Nottingham Forest 5-0 at the Emirates Stadium. The match, which saw substitute Reece Nelson scored a double on Sunday, pushed the Gunners ahead of champions Manchester City 31 points. This will be the first time the Gunners have won by 5 goals since 2018. Gabriel Martinelli, who gave the early opener in the first 5 minutes, and the game went into halftime with Arsenal only 1 goal ahead. The goal, which was dedicated to injured Arsenal player on loan in Italy, Pablo Mari. Reece Nelson in the second half, following that what seems to be an injury for Bukayo Saka. Nelson quickly tripled in the 49th and 52nd minutes, followed by Thomas Partey's. Well, and that's your sport news on World Now at 4. Back to peace, Ogen Egbawe, for the rest of the news. I am Richard Badung.
And haziness from Monday to Wednesday. The Met's weather outlook, released on Sunday in Abuja, forecast a sunny and hazy atmosphere over the north and the north-central region throughout Monday. According to NIMET, thunderstorms over parts of Ondo, Abia, Edo, Enugu, Lagos, Bayelsa, Cross River, Delta, Akwa Ibom, and River State will thrive later in the day. It's predicted cloudy skies with intervals of sunshine in the morning hours over the inland cities of the south, and added that there are prospects of localized thunderstorms over parts of Edo, Abia, Ondo, Ekiti, Imo, and Enugu State in the evening hours. The agency also predicted sunny and hazy conditions over the north and the north-central region on Tuesday. And that's World Now at 4, but before we go, here are the headlines again. We told you that NMA has raised alarm over epidemic's outbreak. And in Zambia, ZANU-PF has endorsed Nanangwa as candidates. From Malaysia, COVID-positive candidates can now vote, according to the minister. And on sport, cruises sent off in Madrid stalemate. Remember to visit us on Facebook and Instagram at Hills TV. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Hills TV. I am Peace Ogenegbawe. Thank you for watching.